head to Orange County to meet Josh Kramer, an international yoga teacher from New Zealand, famous for his unique blend of Iyengar Yoga and Vinyasa style, and his amazing Instagrammable yoga poses. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah, and very big coincidence that we are meeting here in California, and then we'll meet again in Romania where you're teaching
I know,
in the Wellness Festival.
I'm excited to go there. I haven't been before.
I'm following you for a while on Instagram, both you and your wife, and it just looks amazing and very inspirational. And I was just wondering, when did you first discover yoga? You've been always into this yoga world, or how was your path? How did you meet yoga?
I grew up around yoga. So my mom's a yoga teacher, and I grew up in Zimbabwe in Southern Africa, very far away from where I am now. But I sort of entered that yoga world before it became this modern yoga that we know today. So I would go to yoga classes in the African bush with my mom, and she would be a student as well as teaching, and I would sit there, and it would be all these old ladies. You know, there was no young people, very few men doing it, and I would join in with the handstands and the arm balances because I was young. I thought it was fun, and so I was very much surrounded by the philosophy and the study and practice of yoga. And then I moved to New Zealand when I was about 14 years old, and by the time I was a young teenager, I was sort of lacking confidence. You know, my posture was not the best, and that's when I started working out, and I would, you know, do pull-ups and weights and all those things. But then I kept going to yoga class with my mum, and she would point out how my alignment was off and how I was causing certain issues in my body through doing these exercises without proper form. And so I got more and more into yoga, and that's when I started to become more aware of my body and the benefits that yoga could bring to me. And it just sort of, you know, fast-tracked from there. I ended up traveling a lot through my work and becoming more into the practice of yoga and into teaching it as well.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on for a lot longer about it.
Yes, okay, so you've been practicing yoga since you were 7?
Yeah, it's about 7. That's that's sort of the age I use, because I wasn't committed in my practice yet. I was just discovering it as any child would at that age. It was just something fun that I slowly got more interested in as I became older.
It's amazing. Yeah, yoga is such an amazing not only practice but a philosophy. It's a way of living, and it's not only about the asana practice. It's not even only about the meditation and about the breathing. It's so much more into that. And I'm always curious when I see very famous yogi, or a person that you can actually see that is a real yogi and practicing a lot. How much more of that, you know, the other limbs of yoga you're integrating in your life besides the practice of the physical practice, let's say? Right.
My background in yoga is primarily Iyengar Yoga, which a lot of people will see as keeping asana as the focus.
Very big focus on the alignment.
Right. So that's my foundation, that's my core. And what you learn as you become more experienced in that philosophy is that asana is a tool, or like a road for you to explore the other limbs. And so very rarely do I find a quiet place and sit quietly in meditation. I am the first person to admit that I'm not there in my practice yet, but I'm able to use my asana practice to become very connected to my body. You know, Iyengar himself says, how can you know God if you don't know your big toe? So I take that literally, in that I need to become in touch with my body. When I'm in a warrior 2 or a handstand, I'm focusing on every point of my body to the point that the outside world fades away. And that can be related to pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, or dharana, single point of focus, and you become very aware of how that ties into the other limbs. So I think through my asana practice, I'm learning and exploring those other limbs of yoga. And obviously the morality side of things comes in, just how I conduct myself, my upbringing and my personal beliefs about what makes me a good human and a good person in society.
Yeah, it's And besides the yoga, because you were mentioning that you started in New Zealand doing other activities. Besides yoga, now you're also training in a different way, or you're just using yoga as your physical, let's say, physical training?
Yeah, I think it's sort of been a round loop for me. So I mentioned that I started off with more physical exercise. So I did I did a lot of weightlifting as young teenagers do.
And living here, I can imagine you're also doing water sports.
Yeah, always out at the beach, going swimming and out in the ocean. Same in New Zealand, I would be traveling a lot and just being outdoors hiking. So I was very much connected with nature.
Coming from New Zealand, I can imagine. I mean, that place is all about nature and being outdoors.
Exactly. You spend most of your time outdoors, and it's
I've never been there, but I've seen it.
It's just one of those places that when you live there, you become part of nature. It's just what the lifestyle is. And so, yeah, the way I approach yoga and wellness and fitness now has sort of done a bit of a loop. I keep yoga as my core, but I've become interested in the more physical fitness side of things and seeing ways that I can bring that into yoga to maybe appeal to people who haven't quite connected to traditional yoga yet. So, for example, if you take a 20-something-year-old male who wants to go to the gym and work out and lift weights, he might look at yoga as quite feminine and stretching and not his cup of tea, basically. Yeah. So I wanted to bring that back. So a lot of what I've been teaching now, especially what I film through the online platform Alo Moves, is very much blending yoga with traditional fitness. So a lot of push-ups and plyometric exercises, athletic-based movement, and then keeping yoga as the core. So it can appeal to those guys who want a stronger workout, to girls who really want to push themselves and build strength. And that's what it's about for me. It's continually adapting this subject that we call yoga to be appealing to population, to people who want to do yoga.
Yeah, it's very interesting because even for someone like me, and I'm also a yoga instructor, I'm teaching Hatha yoga and I'm practicing Ashtanga a lot. So I am practicing a traditional way of yoga. I use Alo Moves. So I love the platform. I'm actually, in the last month, I've been training with your wife with the 30 burn program, which was amazing. And I also launched a mobile app that has online yoga inside. So I was wondering, where do you see this healthy balance? Because still there is a fine line between what is yoga traditionally and what is yoga now, that you can just access it on the online world.
I think it's sort of one of those dilemmas that we have now, because you can't force people to like something. And there's two sides that I see. There's people who are very stuck in the traditional method, and rightly so, because yoga has a history and it's important to respect that. But my belief is that you can get people interested in yoga through other means. And so as long as I keep my understanding and the way I approach yoga authentic to what I know and what I've experienced, then I'm able to bring in those other aspects of fitness to appeal to a wider audience. And apps like Alo Moves, or the app that you are developing now, are a way to make it accessible to everyone. Anyone can pick up their phone and download the app and roll out a yoga mat and try something new. And I think if we limit it to very traditional styles like Ashtanga or Iyengar, it might put people off who could otherwise really fall in love with yoga and receive so many benefits.
No, it's true, definitely. And also social media, I think it plays a big role now in bringing yoga more somehow easier to approach. But I somehow, and this is my personal quest, and I'm curious what you think about it, because I really see yoga as, and it is a personal journey. It happens within, and we learn in yoga we should not be competitive, we should not compare to other people, but still when you go on Instagram and you see all of these amazing pictures, looking at your profile, your Ashley's profile, somehow you get inspired as well, but somehow sometimes you can get demotivated and you will believe that you will never reach that point. And I was wondering what you believe about that. What's your opinion? And also, does it ever happen to a yogi like you or like Ashley that you will look at a picture and you will say like, oh my god, I cannot do that pose?
Yeah. I think that's definitely true, and it certainly does happen to me. There's always going to be people who can perform things that you struggle with at the moment, and there's two ways you can look at that. You can be put off by that, and it can leave you feeling, a lack of self-worth, or feeling a little bit depressed even. But you can spin that. You can learn to be inspired by those things. And I think what we've forgotten is that social media is something that we have some control over. There's a follow button and there's an unfollow button, and you can choose what you're exposed to. That's Definitely. Right. I follow people who I find inspire me, and if I'm feeling that I'm continually not inspired, or if it's pulling me down, first I look at why I'm feeling that way. Am I feeling that way because I feel like it's something that's negative in my life, or is that showing something about myself? Is it a big mirror being held up in front of me? And usually it's the mirror, and maybe I'm looking at someone and it's not that I feel like I can't do that, it's that I feel like I'm not working hard enough. I'm not working to my fullest potential, and that's what I'm being confronted with. And that's an important thing, because sooner or later in life you'll be confronted with that. So there's a balance, and I think there certainly is a negative potential of social media to sort of show yoga in this competitive way. But at the same time, you can turn that and use it in a way to inspire you and to look inward, to make it introspective and see ways that you are not reaching your fullest potential, because that's what life's all about, is learning what your potential is and working hard to achieve that.
So it's basically this connection that you have with yourself and knowing yourself and your potential.
Right.
Because if this link is missing, if you are not really in balance and in connection with your inner self, then you can very easily, I think, become unbalanced by the environment, by everything that's around you. So grounding, and connection with yourself. I was wondering, how many hours do you practice per day?
It's
is it a normal question, like how many hours, or maybe it doesn't happen like that every day?
It's definitely something that's changed for me over time. Obviously, before I had a daughter, I had as much time in the world to practice, and I would spend hours on end. It started off me practicing in my garage at home with a yoga mat rolled out, really wanting to learn handstand. I had been so inspired by other people that I didn't care where I was. I could have been in my garage or in a yoga studio. I just wanted to learn, and I wanted to do a goal.
I
had a goal. It was a vision, and that was what pushed me forward to become, so enamored with yoga and what I could achieve with my body. And after having a daughter, I think a lot's changed in terms of how I use my time.
That was my next question, actually.
Right.
If that is a challenge and how it changed your lifestyle.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is with how you use your time. Two things that I've learned having a daughter is patience and being content in the moment, because when you have such a young child that's dependent on you and needs you 24/7, you become extremely selfless, and it's a level of selflessness that you don't know before having a child. So I work out and I do yoga when I can, and that's inspired me to create workouts online that work to that. So I created a series called The Limit, which was 15-minute workouts that blended yoga and fitness, more general fitness. And that was because I needed to squeeze in a workout
15 minutes somewhere
in the amount of time before my daughter would get upset or wake up from her nap. So I could run into my yoga studio, work out, move my body, get those benefits, and then go and be the best possible father to my daughter. as I could.
That's amazing if you can organize your time so that you can be there for the family as well, and then you can also pursue this path. Do you ever train together, you and your wife, or
we do? We
practice together.
We practice together. Once again, we will support each other by looking after our daughter so that the other person is able to continue their practice. Particularly as teachers, we have to commit to our practice because it's important to do that, to share with your students. So I think it's more we used to practice together next to each other on a mat, and now we do it by supporting each other to have that time to do yoga, which is more important. Occasionally we'll roll out our mats together and Koa will come and climb all over us and do down dog on our yoga mats. And
like
that's
yoga with baby.
Exactly, and that's such a special time just because she gets to see us moving. I started
inspire her so much.
It's fun for her, and I started yoga when I was a child, but she's being exposed to it from the moment she was born. And I think that can only, be beneficial for her, because later on in her life she's going to have so many of those experiences and just understanding of herself and her body and yoga that most people don't have to do it till they're adults.
Imagine she has been exposed since she was in her mommy's tummy.
Exactly.
So all the information, everything that her mother was doing during the pregnancy has been transmitted to her. So I imagine that she's very zen.
Yeah, she loves to own with us.
She loves to own with you. Do you have any time for cooking, home cooking, or you usually eat out, or how is your diet, let's say?
I do all the cooking pretty much in my house. Yeah, I love cooking. I've cooked since I was a child. I used to love watching the cooking channel, and I wanted to be a chef, and so I love cooking, and it's never been something that has been a chore for me. I love cooking new meals and eating whole, healthy foods.
Especially now with the baby,
exactly.
I think it's more important probably to put the focus on that.
Yeah, I'm very conscious of sort of every single ingredient that goes into what I prepare now, because it's Koa eats the same food I do, and it makes you very much aware of any negative habits you have, because they're such pure little children that you don't want to ever give them something that would disrupt that. So I love cooking. I eat most foods. There's nothing I don't eat, as long as it's wholesome, it's healthy, it's organic and from the earth. If I look down at my plate and I can pronounce all the ingredients, then that's generally how I go. Yeah. I love different cuisines. I love Italian and learning new cultures and their foods and what they eat. That's why I love travel so much. And I'm excited to come to Romania and see what food you eat there.
I'm really excited to meet you there as well. And then so basically now you are just traveling as much as you can now with the new baby, and you are teaching in retreats, and you are teaching here in California as well in the studios, or?
Mainly I'll teach events now. And
so it's mainly events.
Yeah, it's before having a baby I would be traveling so much to teach around the world that I didn't want to commit to a regular studio teaching schedule, because I think it's teaching regularly is something you need to commit to, and I was very much
that.
Yeah, so I wanted to be traveling and teaching workshops, and up until now I've wanted to just focus on my online teaching and also being present for Koa and pursuing some of those other ambitions. But yeah, in the future I will definitely pick up a local studio that I'll teach at regularly.
But definitely you're coming to Romania. That's super exciting.
I'm excited to teach
to the Wellness Festival, and it's actually their third year now, and I've been keeping some workshops there every year on nutrition. I think the first year I even did some yoga, and it's a very, very nice community actually that comes there, and would be very interesting to participate to your workshop. What is that about? What is the theme of it?
So I think the theme is going to be a bit of the old and the new blended together. So there'll be a very strong yoga focus, and I'll be running some workshops on handstand.
That's cool.
It's always something that I think people love, not just because it's an inspiring pose and it gets people excited. But I think it's such a symbol for helping people to realize that yoga encompasses everything. So it's about building confidence, it's about challenging fear, it's about learning your body from head to toe. And when you learn a handstand, you encounter all of those things. So I love to use that as a workshop that gets people excited about yoga. And then outside of that, I will be bringing in some of the more blended fitness yoga inspired workouts that I've been doing recently. So the theme will be Journey to Strength, and showing some of the moves and conditioning exercises in ways that you can really unlock strength in your body and condition your muscles in a way that you might not have done before. And that's just going to help you into your yoga practice in ways that you might not have experienced before.
This sounds very, very exciting, very interesting, and I'm sure your workshops will be super popular. I mean, yoga, it's starting to become more and more popular in Romania. It obviously doesn't have the background as in here in California or in other places. But you will, I think you will love the community there, and also we have some amazing yoga instructors that I'm sure you will meet there, because they're always coming to this festival, and would be super exciting event. You will love it,
And
because you were wondering about. I assume you've never been to Romania,
I've
right?
never been to Romania, and you know, it's.
I don't know what you expect to find.
When I travel to new places, I always try and keep an open mind. I try not to even do much research beforehand, because I love to go there and meet local people and hear about what there is to do there and what the lifestyle is like.
That's a nice approach for sure.
Yeah, and it's just easier that way as well. You don't have to spend hours you know, getting nervous about what you have to book and
also make
like
an image before you get there, because it might be portrayed in a different way, and the perspective can be different once you're there.
I can honestly say I don't have any expectations or ideas of what Romania will be like.
Well, I'm sure you will love it, and you will be very positively surprised by, especially by the warmth of the people. And people are fun, people are very lively. We are a Latin country, actually.
Wow. My first thing I've learned about Romania.
Yeah, exactly. So we are definitely very friendly people. And the community that you will meet there at the Wellness Festival, you will enjoy for sure, and you will connect very well with. And I'm super excited to meet you there as well.
Yeah, me too. And I'll definitely try and take your, is it a nutrition workshop that you'll be teaching?
Yeah.
I'll learn some more about food and maybe have some new ideas to cook for my family.
For sure. Thank you very much. It was really nice meeting you, and in this super nice setting.
Yeah.
And I guess we catch up in Romania.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
Bye.